Alright guys, welcome to this episode of Vertcoin Talk. This is episode 9. We're going to be talking about the Vertcoin developer update that just came out today for the month of July. As you guys know, we put out a new developer update every month, just kind of letting you know what we're doing, what we did over the last month, and basically what to look forward to in the coming months. So today I have Supddle from our marketing team who's joining us today. Unfortunately, we kind of threw this together last minute. I had some scheduling open up where the wife and the baby were out of the house, so that allowed me to get a little bit of Vertcoin work done. So we were able to throw this together pretty quickly. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get James or Gert or Plankton or any of our developers to join us on this. However, if you have a question for them, please feel free to come into our Discord. They're always in there, and you can ask right away. So today, we're going to go over the development update. I'm going to kind of go down this subject by subject. Then we're actually going to go into a pretty ambitious initiative that we're going to have for the fourth quarter of this year from a marketing perspective. We're going to give you guys like a little presentation on what our vision is for this. It's definitely something you've never seen from us before. It's definitely going to have kind of the flavor of the marketing that we've had happening over the last few months. And this, at the end of the day, is Supddle's, this is his baby. He is really pushing hard for this, and I love the enthusiasm and energy and the collaboration that he and Plankton are using in order to kind of uniform our graphics and our message and be a little bit more aggressive with how we're branding and marketing Vertcoin in the market that we're currently in. You know, everybody, for the most part, a lot of projects and stuff like that they're really being quiet because there's no hype, there's no enthusiasm, there's no excitement because things aren't booming and such. Well, when you're looking for a project to really, you know, zero in on how they're doing in cryptocurrency and how cryptocurrency is going to advance in the future, look for those ones who continue to build, who continue to put out stuff even when the times are down, which, you know, I'm hoping that completely changes here soon. But let's dive right into the development update for this month. So as you can see here, we got some new graphics. So let Plankton or Supddle know kind of what you guys think of this new graphic layout and kind of how we're kind of bringing the Vertcoin marketing into the future. I mean, it just looks beautiful in my opinion. But let's see. So we have some concepts that we're playing with right now with the one-click miner. A lot of people have said that, yeah, it's a one-click miner, but you still got to do a few clicks in order to get around and actually start mining and things of that nature. So Plankton is working on a GUI redesign of the one-click miner. So literally you put your wallet in, you start mining. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Supddle, have you worked with him at all on this, or has this kind of been his little project as far as the redesign of the GUI?
I think for the most part it has been Plankton spearheading this. He has shown me concept work for, you know, just for input, but is for the most part Plankton. Okay.
Yeah, so one thing I'd like to do is when we get closer to this getting released, I'll get Plankton onto the talk, and we will kind of break down what the differences are in the GUI and kind of how we're going to make it even more user-friendly to be able to start mining Vertcoin right away. So look forward to that in the future dev updates and in a future Vertcoin Talk. So moving down, Plankton is also working on, and I know Supddle has been working with him on this. We're kind of refreshing Vertcoin.org. As a lot of you know, we just redesigned the website, what, 4 months ago? Well, we're trying to go with an even more user-friendly, information-based website where you go there and it's really easy to understand cryptocurrency. It's really easy to understand what we're working on and to convey Litbox, the Lit network. These are some pretty dense concepts, and the refresh of Vertcoin.org is going to make it easier for the layman person to be able to understand those concepts and to be able to go tell other people about it. So Supddle, have you got a chance to see the refresh yet? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so Plankton approached me, I think it was a month and a half ago, and we started churning out the copy for that site. You know, at the moment it's in a very close to finished stage where it's being reviewed.
Yep.
So I mean, like, it was quite a difficult task boiling down those concepts into something that's very user friendly in a way that you know, a lay person will understand. But then if they want to drill down deeper, they can manage to get more information and ultimately funnel into Discord or Twitter or, you know, any channel that they see fit. So if we really took into account, like, the user journey and also the merchant journey, so that, say, if there's a merchant that stumbles upon Vertcoin, whether it's through our awareness campaign or whether it's through some sort of social media post that we send out,
or if we're on CNBC talking about how great Vertcoin is doing right now, you know, like Charlie Lee was with Litecoin, you know.
Exactly. And if they come across, if they Google vertcoin.org and come across the site, it's how they get that information the quickest and best way, and then get converted into becoming a Vertcoin supporter. So it's those things that we factored in, and that's what we are hoping to deliver.
Yeah, I think being able to make it as user-friendly and easy for people to get into the crypto economy is going to be the key for any project advancing to the next stage of cryptocurrency, the next stage of adoption. If it's not easy, people aren't, they're only going to put so much effort in unless you're kind of a techie or somebody who really gets geeked out over the technology. If you're just an average user who wants to be able to accept more people, a currency from people to buy your goods or services, it needs to be easy. So we're taking those steps now to get the marketing, the website, the design, and everything as user friendly and simple to understand as possible. So the other thing, we did get an update. So a lot of you guys were looking for Litbox to be released to the public on June 30th when James was doing his talk at the MIT Bitcoin convention. He had initially shown some slides with the Litbox. Now that was a concept at that point, and we started going hard in on the development side. Now, as you can see in this post here, there is a lot of as far as it getting working out to the public and everything like that, a lot of that does ride on being able to get lit to an operational standpoint, which is part of the MIT Digital Currency Initiative. So we're working hand in hand with them. As you know, 2 of our developers work for DCI, so they have in-depth knowledge with that. But the Litbox right now, you can actually go on GitHub and download Litbox right now. The way it stands right now, you can download it and play with it on a Raspberry Pi, and it functions great. But moving forward, we're trying to get some more things done on the lit side of Litbox before we can start initiating the phase of mass production or putting out plans for people to 3D print the box to put a Raspberry Pi in, and all of the other technical requirements that are going to be needed if you wanted to support multiple coins and things of that nature. So just be aware that the project is nowhere near dead. It is full of life, but the whole, I guess, it was more of a rumor that we were going to have a box that you could buy at Best Buy on June 30th. That necessarily wasn't the case. The goal was, by the end of Q2, was to have the concept fleshed out and ready to go to actually start coding, which we actually got. We started coding on that before the end of Q2, and we're well on the way to being able to make this a reality, assuming that we continue down the path of developing Lit at the pace that we're going right now. So check for that here in the near future. Electrum wallet. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Supddle.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to also flag that, and I'm sure this is coming across from like the developers as well. But you know, we as a project, we want to put something out that is, you know, that we are extremely comfortable with, that we know is going to bring the world the future of money, and it's you know, it's something that we are proud of. So. You know, I think if you look at it in that context, it is worth waiting for.
I always and this is kind of the thing I try to preach whenever we're talking about either the AMD miner getting released and stuff like that. Growing up as a kid, I envied and worshipped, in a loose sense, Blizzard Entertainment and their games that they put out. You had to wait, and there would be delays, and there would be, you had to wait for that product to get released. However, when that game dropped, it was amazing. You spent hours and hours. You're completely that's the level of quality that we want to put out when it comes to a product, be it Litbox, be it Lit Wallet, be it AMD miner, any of that stuff. We want to make sure that whatever we're putting out is top quality. And unfortunately, quality takes time, and you run into hiccups, because the last thing we want to do is to put out something that it has a bug in it, and you're dealing with your currency, the currency that you're going to be using to buy goods and services, that needs to be secure, locked up, and 100% ready to go. But it also needs to be user friendly, and it needs to look good, and both of those things take time. So just want to let everybody know, with this update, we are still working on it. It's still in the pipeline. It is still, the fire is lit underneath of it, and just look for more information on that coming soon. I just wanted to kind of squash any sort of well, you guys gave up on Litbox because it didn't come out on June 30th. Because unfortunately, I did see some of that stuff on Twitter and on social media, but just be aware that it is still coming full force.
Yeah, and I think James regularly posts things, like an update that came out earlier this, last week or so, where I think there was something about lit added functionality, some testing around that. So, it is still being worked on, and it's a project that is considered quite strongly. Yeah,
I mean that's probably our #1 focus. Because at the end of the day, that solves a major issue with the Lightning Network, and it is a key component to, it's the key link in the chain that makes point-of-sale solutions on the Lightning Network function. And anybody to be able to go anywhere with their cell phone and do a purchase, and not have to worry about, do I have cell service? Have I had cell service for the last, 24 or 48 hours in order to make sure my channel is open, and it solves all of those problems. So it is of the utmost importance that we fix that problem and we make it as user friendly as possible. So everybody just be aware, it is still top of our priority list. The Electrum wallet, so the pre-release has been given for 3.2.2, currently for the Mac OS version. So PK Knight worked on that, so check out the pre-release for that. You can see the binary code right here in the dev update. I don't use the Electrum wallet. Sputtle, have you ever used it before? I stick with the Vertcoin core wallet for all of my Vertcoin. Yeah. Since I'm doing mining here at my house, I make sure that I'm using the core wallet. This is the next big topic that I would have loved to have had James on. I think I'm going to end up making this like its own Vertcoin Talk, doing kind of a deep dive into this as we get further into the process. But Vert hash, I don't know if you guys got to read this on the dev update, but Vertcoin is currently in the process of starting the groundwork to build a completely new algorithm. This new algorithm, as you can see here, we're taking, not necessarily taking aim, but we are countering FPGAs and the bane of my existence, kind of. I mean, not as much as Bitmain, but the attack for rent platform known as NiceHash. Our algorithm, the goal of this new algorithm is to make sure that everybody who has a graphics card can still mine Vertcoin, can still contribute to the system with average hardware that you can buy at your local Best Buy or your local not GameStop, CompUSA. I don't know if those are still around anymore, but any of your computer stores nearby, you can buy this hardware and not only contribute to the Vertcoin network, earn some Vertcoin whenever you're not gaming or anything like that, but you can still use it for your everyday tasks. It's not a specialized piece of hardware that all it can do is mine a particular algorithm, and if somebody changes that algorithm, now it's a paperweight. So this new algorithm its goal is to be able to, one, kind of stop the FPGA efficiency boost that FPGAs give GPUs, because they're still specialized hardware, very expensive, very new on the scene. So that's one of the goals. But also NiceHash, as you guys know, we did a Vertcoin talk about it, the website that came out that basically listed what it cost to 51% attack certain blockchains with the NiceHash, purchase our hash power setup that they have over there. So people could rent hash power to attack a coin, and this new algorithm, we're looking to find something that makes it so that NiceHash is not able to use that their system to mine our algorithm, which would protect our blockchain. What are your thoughts on this and the prospects of a new algorithm coming from the Vertcoin community?
Are you asking me? Sorry.
Yeah. You're the only one on here, so yeah.
Yeah. No. So I think it's amazing. I think it's the right way forward. I think it's a no-brainer, and the guys know it. That's why they're doing it. So, and I think it's, if anything, it's going to strengthen our positioning. It's going to strengthen our philosophy in being that level playing field, being the fair coin, really, and being a coin that is for everyone, really.
Yeah, it's the average user. You have a graphics card, contribute. I think one of the big positions that we can have is being able to appeal to gamers that you can't game 24/7. If you do, you're going to eventually die just from lack of sleep and everything else. But your computer has to take a break. You have to take a break and sleep. So while you're sleeping, you can easily mine Vertcoin easily with that one-click miner GUI interface that we have updated. Easily just put in your wallet ID, click mine, go, and go off to sleep. So I think that's a good position that we can get into as a project of being able to appeal to those users who have video cards and such of that nature, the higher end video cards for gaming, where they can easily get a return on that downtime that otherwise your computer would just be sitting there idle. So look for a Vertcoin talk. I'd imagine this project is going to take a little while, because there's a lot of things that go into developing an algorithm. As you can see, we're now still very much in the R&D phase. We're tweaking some of the parameters and stuff, but this is James's baby, and I'll try and get him here on a Vertcoin talk. If you guys really want it, just put some comments down below of how much you really want to see a talk dedicated to the Verthash algorithm, and I'll see about if I can get James on here to get him to take a break from coding and his job at DCI in order to be able to talk about this, kind of the vision we're looking for, and even maybe be able to go into some of the phases and the philosophies behind the steps that you have to take in order to make an algorithm for a blockchain. So that's it for the development update. Now we're going to move right into marketing. So, the new Super Troopers 2 movie came out. I just saw it. It just got out on DVD. So I, of course, threw in a little photo of that. But, I mean, June was a really big month. We had a lot of stuff happening in June. And coming into July, I was a little worried. I was like, I don't know if we'll be able to top July or be able to top June. And we did. I mean, we did a really good job from a marketing standpoint. We pushed forth a lot of initiatives. And one of the things that, Spuddle, you contributed to directly was the aggressive marketing look that we have right now with some of the images that we're putting out. I know you guys fuss at me a lot because I try to build graphics, but I'm not nearly as good as you and Plankton, and just trying to get this stuff consistent, looking good. Hopefully everybody out there is enjoying the new marketing look and these graphics that we are putting out. If you have any thoughts, if you want to contribute, if you want to give anything, any feedback or anything like that on these this new aggressive marketing look that we have coming out of the Vertcoin team, come over to our Discord. There is an open marketing channel, and that's where you can come and talk marketing all day long, and we'll be able to communicate, relay ideas and stuff like that. I know Spuddle hangs out in there, Plankton, myself, all of the marketing team. We're in there. But any anything you want to talk about as far as the look, you know, how we got this look, what we're trying to convey with the different messages that we're doing in the new kind of aggressive marketing look?
I think just a top level understanding that we are going for, you know, it's an emotional kind of feel, and we are looking at it from a point of view as like, what is the key message that we want to kind of send out? Like in the idea of having merchants, rather than saying, you know, we've got let's kind of like highlight our merchants. We've kind of taken a step into a deeper dive into each merchant and turn that into a merchant spotlight tile that we do, where we show what the merchants are doing. So, and it's also looking at a catchy, you know, like a catchy phrase, I suppose, one that will get people sharing or talking about it as well. So, I mean, top level concept is pretty simple, but it gets the communication across.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I'm ecstatic with the look and the feel of the new graphics, and you're going to kind of see that throughout the entire marketing. Everything that we put out in the month of July had this new look and feel. And so one other thing I wanted to touch on, I talked about in our last Vertcoin talk, was we had a competition out there for the AMD miner video. Now this was for the regular AMD miner, not the one-click miner, because we started this instructional video contest, and then about, I don't know, say about 5 days before it ended, we ended up incorporating the AMD miner into the one-click miner. So that was disqualified because that would be kind of, you know, click it and then just go. But we ended up having two winners. So we had a winner for the Windows video and for the Linux video. So you can see those here. They are up on our YouTube channel. So if you want to check those out, just go searching in our videos. I think there are about 4 videos or so back from this one, where you can see how to mine on a AMD GPU, whether you're on Windows or on Linux. So we also had the Vertcoin Talk. Most of you guys were probably here for that last one. This is where we gave the June developer update. So if you want to go watch that, you can just go to the YouTube channel or to the Twitch channel. So just so you guys know, we are simulcasting on YouTube and on Twitch. So it's twitch.tv /Vertcoin Talk. You can see both this update and all of our other previous updates on there. So one other new series that Supddle kind of helped spin off this month, and we just put the first one up on the 1st of August, is Off the Chain. So Off the Chain is a new quick, short video series that we're going to be putting out consistently. And our goal is to put out 2 a week of some short snippets of knowledge that came from previous Vertcoin talks. I know a lot of times I put a poll up on my Twitter asking, you know, how do people consume information? Because my wife, she makes fun of me right now because I'm so tied up in like these Joe Rogan podcasts that go 3.5 hours, and I'll sit there and listen to them intently while working. And she's like, I don't understand how you can do that. I got other stuff to do. And, you know, so I can sit there and listen to an in-depth, technical, deep, heavy conversation for 3 hours and be completely into it. Not everybody can do that. So, you know, while a lot of times our Vertcoin talks are about an hour or maybe a little less or a little more, this kind of will break that down into some little snippets of wisdom that you can share with somebody, and then if they want to see the full talk, then they can go and check it out on YouTube or on Twitch. But we have the first one was loaded up on the 1st, and our next one's going to be coming out this Sunday. So make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube. They're on Instagram as well, or on, I haven't loaded them up to Twitch, so I'll probably keep them strictly YouTube and Instagram. But if you want to see them the day they come out, check here on our YouTube channel. We have our own playlist for it as well. So Supddle kind of went through, he and a bunch of the other members of the marketing team went through all of the previous Vertcoin talks, and they found all of these different, like, just, you know, really awesome, I guess they're called, I guess you would call it what's the term? Soundbite. So they found these awesome sound bites. You know, how many did we figure out over the first, like, 3 Vertcoin talks? Isn't there, like, don't we have about 25 or 30?
Oh, there's heaps. There's as well into like the 50s, I would say. So
Okay.
we've got heaps of grabs, and I think the concept behind that is just having more content that we can share through our channels, content that will spark discussion. You know, there's some interesting bits that we found, particularly around looking at other projects and how you know, they treat things like block times, consensus, and just things like that. So anything that can spark conversation, intelligent conversation, is what we're looking for, and stuff that's what we're promoting to the community. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm excited for it, and I think anything to be able to get the message out there, if it's shorter, smaller little snippets that lead people to these long form interviews and talks, you know, I'm all for that. So watch for those. I'm going to try and do it every Wednesday and Sunday, because I know over the weekend, it's the weekend, we're out doing stuff. A lot of times we're not at our computer to be able to post those, but I'm going to try and schedule those out so that we do have some content that's coming out on Sunday and on Wednesday. So look for those in the coming weeks. So yeah, merchant adoption. This is one thing that I didn't know, and it's because I haven't used the getoff.com at all yet for spending my Vertcoin, but you can get Uber credits. Now, I have to admit, I've never taken an Uber yet because I live in, you know, it's a pretty good sized city, but it's no New York or LA or Paris or anything like that. So I haven't used an Uber. I always drive myself everywhere. But, you know, the fact that you can mine Vertcoin, then use that Vertcoin to buy a gift or to buy Uber credits, and then take an Uber down to wherever you're going, you know, that's one step closer to kind of the mass adoption that we're looking to do. So every Monday, you guys see that man on the right, he posts in our Reddit the Vertcoin Merchant Mondays. So we try to highlight either a new merchant that has joined us or a previous merchant and kind of what they're doing with Vertcoin. So we try and highlight that. So if you know any merchants that want to accept a Vertcoin or are accepting Vertcoin, but they're not currently on our merchant page on our website, or they're not being included in Merchant Mondays, please let us know. Have them reach out to us. And if they're interested in accepting Vertcoin, but they just don't know how to, have them reach out to us as well. I know we have some stuff in the works to be able to give them kind of and we kind of touched on this on the last talk, I can't remember what you called it.
Like the merchant adoption kit is
yeah,
what we were thinking.
Yeah, and
the thinking around, now I know we got a question in the little chat thing in YouTube around that. The thinking around that has slightly evolved as well, because what we found is that when people go and have these conversations with merchants, and if it's quite a cold conversation, it turns into, oh, well, we don't know much about cryptocurrency. We don't know how to, you know, we're afraid of risk. We're afraid of, you know, the legal implications of cryptocurrency, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So the thinking around that has changed into a more, like a more phased approach in how we deal with it. So essentially, through our awareness campaigns, we kind of start the funnel of information. It's almost a thinking around, if you want to talk about, say, a chocolate cake, right? Follow me on this one. What you need to know is you need to know what a dessert is first, right?
Yeah.
And then you can start talking about chocolate cakes. So the thinking around that is we need to kind of get the market to kind of know what where Vertcoin sits in the cryptocurrency space, where it sits alongside the known currency Bitcoin, so on and so forth, and then we can start having those conversations. So that it's the idea of establishing Vertcoin within the mainstream market before people kind of go out there and say, oh, hey, have you we've already had the big conversation by then, and then it's just a case of, oh yeah, so we can, you can kind of, people are asking about Vertcoin, so then it becomes more of an incentive to drive it. And then all they have to do is get onto our website, where we're restructuring it right now to make it more merchant friendly. And from that point, all they have to do is get an adoption kit. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for merchants to accept Vertcoin.
Yeah, and I mean, as a merchant myself, my Richmond Drone Services is my company, where I'm a commercial drone pilot. You know, I accept it, and I didn't have to accept cryptocurrencies as that, but I used it as an avenue as someone who is a business owner. I have friends that are business owners. I push them to accept it as a cryptocurrency because that's how you spread adoption. And the more literature, the more, I guess, FaceTime and stuff that you can have towards a cryptocurrency for the general population, you're going to be able to spread this much easier. I mean, the same goes, I have it up here on the screen now, Uber. If you said, do you want to take an Uber to me back in 2005, I would have thought you were talking about baby food or something like that. Uber, the name, is not synonymous with, a random person being able to come and pick you up without having to be a taxi. They had to develop that and to be able to push that out, and that's kind of what we're doing with the new marketing awareness, which I'm excited for the presentation we're going to do here in just a minute regarding that. But as far as merchants, keep checking our website for the latest updates on those. And if you know anybody who wants to be a merchant for Vertcoin or accept Vertcoin as payment, let us know in the open marketing channel or ping one of the developers or one of the marketing team members, and we will get them right on the list and let them know what they need to do in order to be able to accept Vertcoin. So
I think it's important as well for we've got quite a wide community, and the community is quite passionate about the project. Mm-hmm. If anyone knows a business owner quite, intimately, like if they own a business or they, someone in their family owns a business and they are open to the idea of accepting cryptocurrency, I think that is a really good starting point. And I think someone mentioned that in the chat down below as well. What we can assist them with is an onboarding, the onboarding process, and also what they can kind of get out of it is in terms of exposure. Because when we do our merchant spotlights, we effectively act as an influencer in some way, where we push out, hey, kind of check this merchant out in a way. And eventually what it's going to turn into is it's going to turn into a position where we can start issuing them with a pre-typed out press release that they can then send out on their mailing lists. And say, hey guys, we accept Vertcoin or we accept cryptocurrencies, thereby establishing their business as a forward-thinking business. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we had somebody ask, why are we putting the graph up with Uber when Uber itself doesn't directly accept Vertcoin? With, the getoff.com, you're buying gift cards, vouchers, credits. The fact is you can buy Uber credits with Vertcoin. So the end result is you're able to mine Vertcoin, buy the credits, use the Uber, and then get to wherever you need to go. So yeah, it's one step. Ideally we want Uber to be able to accept Vertcoin directly. And I think this right here is a step in the right direction to be able to make it to where Uber will one day say, we want to accept Vertcoin as payment instead of just the US dollar, just the euro, or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Like, if you look on the merchant gift off that we that accept Vertcoin, you can even buy vouchers from Amazon, vouchers from ASOS. So there are ways to spend your Vertcoin if you kind of look into it as well. So
yeah, and Mr. MJD81 says that, how should I, report the taxes and all this other stuff that comes with being a business accepting cryptocurrency. The thing is, a lot of times with businesses, I'm kind of in a unique position because I don't have... You're paying for my service in filming and taking photos and stuff with drones with my particular business. So I'm able to not to accept the cryptocurrency and not right away have to exchange it for USD or for a euro. Because most of the times, especially when I'm talking to businesses, I hit hard on golf courses because I love to play golf, but I hit hard on golf courses to accept cryptocurrency as payment for green fees and stuff like that. And the number one thing that they reach back to me and say is, look, I have to buy grass seed, I have to pay my employees. I have to pay water bills. I have to do all this stuff every single month. I have a long list of expenditures, and I can't pay those in cryptocurrency. So, the main thing I have to do is, as soon as I'm paid with the cryptocurrency, I have to convert it to a USD or a euro to be able to pay my employees and and all the supplies I'm getting and everything else like that. So, when it comes to dealing with the taxes and such, you're going to pay the taxes on when you convert it to USD. And you're kind of just skipping you're adding an extra step by paying with Vertcoin or paying with whatever cryptocurrency. That same day, the best practice that I have been seeing from other merchants is using something like coinpayments.net, where it automatically converts it into USD or euro, or you do it yourself. So say using me as an example, if somebody were to pay me 300 Vertcoin in order to film a half a day or a whole day of their event, their wedding or what have you, and they were to pay me in Vertcoin, if I had to use that money in order to facilitate other goods and stuff like that in order to keep my business running, first thing I would do as soon as I get home, I would exchange it out. So the 300 Vertcoin is based upon the current price of Vertcoin. Then I would exchange it out for USD so I can use that to spend for everything else with my business. At that point, you're no different than if somebody would have just paid you in USD. You're just being able to accept Vertcoin and open up that market of currency so that people, and me, for what I do, I give a 10% discount. You pay me in cryptocurrency, I'll give you a 10% discount over my normal price with USD. So that incentivizes people to learn about cryptocurrency and pay me in cryptocurrency because they get a discount on top of that. 10% off of $5 is not much, but 10% off of $3,000, that stuff starts to add up after time. So that's the way I look at it from a business standpoint. These are all things that we'll have to end up, addressing in that market or in the onboarding package that we'll be using for merchants. But we're still a little ways away before you can pay your taxes in Vertcoin. You can buy other goods in Vertcoin. You still have to do that swap with USD or euro or what have you to facilitate the other aspects of your business. So, it's good things to think about, and we're definitely thinking about it now. But we're still, that's still problems that we have to solve. But so one other thing that happened last month, it's last month now because now it's August. Gert and Plankton did an interview with I can't even remember the guy's name. So I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, this is horrible to do in the middle of a live event. Here, let's pull it up.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I have crypto.
There you go. So Seth Estrada, they did a interview with him last month. If you want to pull that up here and take a look at it, they covered a wide range of topics, but that was the developer interview that we had going on last month. As you notice, we've been doing less and less third-party developer interviews, and we've been doing more stuff here on our own. One, because scheduling-wise, we're pretty flexible with each other. But two, ever since really January, especially the YouTube space has just dried up. You used to have these crazy YouTube streamers and people putting up crypto stuff all the time, and then all of a sudden everybody disappeared. But we're still here. We're still pumping out content and still talking about crypto because we're in it for the long haul. So one other thing that we talked about, we're going to be doing more of this, and this really, we need participation from you guys, is our community voice. So whenever we see an awesome quote or anything like that posted on our Discord or in Twitter, we'll take that and we'll highlight it. We'll put it out across our social sites and stuff. But here you can see some of the quotes that we had going on last month. So keep those coming. Keep talking inside of Discord, and who knows, maybe one of your quotes will end up on our social sites. So let me remove my highlight here. One of the other things that we had going on this month is Vertcoin Academy. We talked about that a few months ago. The idea now it's up and it's definitely up and running. It's almost finished. If you go to the LitHub Firebase app, here you can kind of see a rough look of what this is going to look like. So the main site, you'll get a link right to vertcoin.org. Documentation here, we're going to put a lot of time and effort into the documentation so you can see full node setup for Raspberry Pi and kind of give you step-by-step instructions on all things Vertcoin. Ben is working on this. He is actually working on this now full-time to get this up and running. If you want to contribute to this, Ben and Sam are really working on this. So Sam of the marketing team and Ben of the marketing team. If you want to contribute this or have any questions about it or anything like that, you can message B17Z here in Discord, or Sam. You'll see him over on the right-hand side under the marketing team. Check them out and go here and take a look around, poke around. If you have any ideas or anything like that, let us know. This is kind of a replacement for Vertcoin Docs. It's kind of taking it to the next level so that we're able to have a complete space that houses all of our documentation, so that if anybody comes to the scene 4 or 5 years from now, then they're able to get up and running right away, and they don't have to go searching for a lot of stuff. It's all kind of in a central location. Have you got a chance to play around with this Supddle at all, or is this your first time seeing it?
Yeah, I've had a quick look. It's looking pretty amazing from an educational point of view. And you know, I don't think any other projects are looking at this as seriously as we are. And I think it's quite an amazing repository of information. Yeah.
I hope it really expands the education when it comes to crypto, because so many people get into this space and they have no idea the technical aspect or what the end goal is or anything like that. All they see is green bars and they're, you know, excited. You know, it's, and I know, Andreas Antonopoulos has talked about how crypto really needs education, and you know, we were kind of already there in our thinking as well. And this is something that Ben is really taking on full force, and Sam, to get this up and running. And this isn't just for Vertcoin. This is also going to house some educational things about general cryptocurrency stuff. So it's you know, it's all for the benefit of our end users and our community. So check out for more updates on this. This, you know, the concept for this really got started about 3 months ago, and now it is really starting to kick off. So by the next update, we should see a massive update as far as the layout, the docs that are being associated with it, and everything like that. So now let's talk about the marketing awareness campaign. So this is the little update that we put into the Vertcoin dev update. So here you can see where we laid the groundwork for an international guerrilla marketing awareness campaign with media agencies, Go Guerrilla in the United States, Komodo in the or Komodo. Am I saying that right, Supddle?
It's Commando with a K.
Commando, there you go. And in the EU, and I'm not even going to pronounce the one for Australia. You'll have to do that.
So it's just Placket.
Placket?
Yeah.
Okay. I always worry that it's, you know, something special. But yeah, so this awareness campaign aims to launch in the first week of October and run till December. We're going to kind of give a full-on presentation as to what this awareness campaign is going to look like, the costs that are going to be associated with it, and kind of our timeline and our vision of how this is going to operate over the fourth quarter of 2018. And, you know, this is going to kind of lay the groundwork for marketing in general all the way through 2019. Some of the other things here in the dev update real quick I'll touch on. We had key performance indicators. You can see the numbers here. Twitter did a massive scalp of a bunch of bots and fake accounts and stuff like that, so we did lose some stuff there. Instagram followers are still going up. Social is pretty much remaining about the same month on month. You know, these numbers will definitely rise with more adoption, and then of course once the market turns bullish, you'll have all the moon kids and stuff like that coming back. But these are kind of your core people here. So we got that real quick, and then we have the VTC development fund. So this is all of the funds. When you see development fund here, this is the developer fund, the marketing fund, all of those kind of combined together. This is the expenditures and the income for all of that. So we had 531 VTC come into the marketing fund. Want to thank all of you guys for that. That will help contribute to what we're about to talk about here in a few minutes. And then we also had $45 come into the general development fund. You know, that's an okay amount. Definitely we want to see it a little bit higher, because eventually we want to be able to hire on a full-time developer so that we can continue the development and just speed that up even faster. Some of our expenditures, so we had the Windows and Linux AMD miner video bounties, the Vertcoin intro video bounty, which got released today. If you guys haven't seen that, I might play it here towards the end, but it's here on our YouTube channel. Go check that out. It's an awesome video. It's so well done. It's, you know, it's beautiful. But we had that go out, and then we also had the UK trademark lawyers, still paying them because we're in a trademark fight that's over there in the UK. So we're getting that squared away. And then we had the coming up, so all sorts of other good stuff coming up. You know, as you see here, establishment of the Vertcoin Foundation is getting close. So you guys stay tuned. You know, when the Vertcoin Foundation goes live, then you have a 501c3 group that you can actually donate to and write off on your taxes, at least here if you're here in the United States. So new algorithm, tacos, you know, tacos are coming up every month, and then the lit wallet. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming up here. But let's go right into the Vertcoin awareness campaign. Now Supddle's going to take this over. This is you know, his baby. He's done an amazing job. I can't say it enough how much it's been awesome to see him really work with this campaign. And we got the PDF up now. We're on slide 1 if you want to take it from here. And
awesome, yeah.
Go.
And I'll just let you know, Canen, when we can swap slides.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So the awareness campaign was largely driven by the idea that you know, we want to build with a strong foundation of knowledge around the market. We want people to know who we are, and we also to start having the really big conversations, the big conversations around you know, fair mining, the big conversations around what consensus means in digital currency future, and the core concepts of that, you know, what we believe in. But in order to have that conversation, we really need people to know who we are as a currency and what we really stand for. Now, I remember when I you know, stumbled upon Vertcoin, I had no idea it even existed until, you know, I through some means that I can't even recollect right now, I found that, you know, there's this like underground community that, you know, is trying to bubble up to the surface. What I feel like this awareness campaign is going to do is it's going to penetrate that surface and going to get Vertcoin out into the mainstream community. Now, we tried to figure out the best way to do that, and this is what we kind of came up with. We're trying to keep budgets extremely lean, and at the same time maximize awareness, maximize how far our Vertcoin is going to take us. So yeah, so we can just move on to the next slide. And
okay.
Yeah. So I think I just spoke about the approach and how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and if you're watching on the stream, you're going to be a little bit behind, but I just moved on to slide 3 since we because I went to approach and then went back accidentally. So yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's all right. That's all good. So one of the other things we want to do is we want to empower the users and the wider audience to have more constructive conversations, because at the moment what we realize is, you know, with all the other coins, the 2,000 or so coins that are in the market and increasing every day, the conversation's just full of noise. And so when we know that there's a, you know, that people are saying, okay, so we've got Bitcoin, we've got Litecoin, we've got Ethereum, and we've got, say, Vertcoin, if we can position ourselves in that conversation with bigger coins, we've got more leverage in saying this is why we stand for what we stand for. And that's a very top level understanding of why we're doing the awareness phase.
Yep.
So if we go to the next slide, which is the broad strategy, you'll see essentially where this whole presentation kind of fits in the broader strategy. At the moment, we're at this point where we're trying to establish Vertcoin positioning in the market. And the next phase after this is going to be building external channels, and this includes things like brand partnerships, you know, where we can incorporate brand partnerships into things like the Vert store or like the Vertcoin store, whatever we want to, you know, however we want to call it.
Yeah.
We look at this awareness phase is going to open the doors to like bigger conversations that we can have with merchants, we can have with coin integrators and stuff like that. It will also lead the way towards behavior change campaigns around how people treat cryptocurrency and the future of money, and it'll establish us as market leadership. So the next few phases really leverage on the awareness campaign, if you may.
Yep. So phase 1 is establish.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, this is what we're doing. We're establishing Vertcoin in the broader market as a real established and mature project. And how we're doing this is we're going to incorporate a guerrilla marketing campaign. And this is going to be what we're aiming for is we're aiming for an international approach to this marketing campaign, because we feel like that's what's going to be the most effective in this approach. So if we move on to the guerrilla marketing slide, this is just a top level slide of understanding how guerrilla marketing works. It's we're using a mix of street stencils to get an initial message across and to provoke new ideas. We're going to look at pole signs as well, and we're going to look at other executions like alleyway posters in various places of like high traffic areas, and the people we want to reach. The idea behind guerrilla marketing is it aligns very closely with our philosophy of being really close to the grassroots. We're not looking at positioning ourselves as like a really premium brand. Instead, we're looking at how we're going to communicate this message across to everyone and completely penetrate the communication, like the market, with this communication.
All right.
If we move on to the slide where we've got our partners, yep. These are the people we've engaged with to kind of undertake these the campaigns. What they've done is, so essentially what the process to do this was, we put forward a campaign proposal to them, or campaign brief, if you may. And what they did was they digested it. They looked at what their channels were, how they would best approach it, and they fed back to us and said, hey, this is what we would do. This is how you'd get the best response in, say, a market, say in New York. This is what you get in like San Francisco. This is what you get in Sydney, Melbourne, London, Amsterdam, Paris. This is what you would do, right? Yeah. So we took their ideas on board, and this is essentially what we're going to present.
Awesome. So phase 1 is to provoke.
Yeah. And what this means is we are trying to get a response from the market based on something that's extremely current right now. So the only way you're gonna get your message across in an extremely noisy market is leverage on something that is really current. So you build on something that has extreme currency in order to get your message across, and that's what we're doing in the provocation phase. Phase 2 will deliver the payoff message, which will answer the questions that we've provoked, and phase 3 is established. Now, phase 2 and phase 3 kind of work together, so it's a payoff and establish together. So the reason we've kind of broken up into these 3 phases is because it's easier to understand, but phase 2 and phase 3 is quite similar. Like it works together.
Okay. So phase 1, rip bank, street stencils and street posters. Exactly.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is when this launches in October, we're going to take over the city streets in the cities that we're going to name in the next few slides. And it just depends on how much our budget can stretch. Ideally, we'd want it to be in at least 3 cities. Mm-hmm. And this would be, one in Europe, one in Australia, and one in the United States. Mm-hmm. And how we imagine this working is we do the stenciling on a Sunday night or a Saturday night, and Sunday morning people wake up to the RIP banks street stencilings, like in the CBD areas, really close to banks, really close to metro areas where you've got a lot of like street activity. what this is going to do is it's going to promote a lot of like social media discussion. We're going to get into the news on Monday morning, and that feeds. We know that when you get into the news on Monday mornings, it feeds into Tuesday's news, into Wednesday's news,
the whole week,
on radio, on social media. Because news at the moment is like super masturbatory, right? And what you want to do is you want to get in on that Monday morning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
if you can start the news cycle at the beginning of the week, that's easily going to carry for the entire week.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's what we're hoping to do with this. We're going to provoke the shit out of this. We're going to instigate a lot of like a lot of controversy around like what's happening, like who's orchestrating this, because really we're not saying it's Vertcoin. In a way, we've got a logo in there, but what we're going to do is, if you go into the next slide, we're leveraging off the noise that other cryptocurrencies have as well. So we've kind of like put in Bitcoin and Litecoin in there as well, only because what that's going to do is it's going to increase the idea of like, you know, what is actually going on.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, especially Bitcoin has the market awareness just because it's the OG, it's the original. I mean, you have people on CNBC talking about it. You have people at all these financial institutions are aware of it. You know, when you tie that logo in with our logo, there's an instant connection as to, okay, this is cryptocurrency, but you see the branding and everything is all Vertcoin. So, and you know, at the end of the day, and we'll talk about this kind of more, where, you know, Vertcoin is very much like Bitcoin, except you can mine it yourself. You know, and then that,
exactly.
So by getting people's eyeballs on this, they eventually lead into, okay, what's Vertcoin? And then they start to see what the differences are between the two different cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, the logic is pretty straightforward. People already know Bitcoin. People already know Litecoin. The people that know those two will make the connection that there is another coin in the mix. The other thing is, if people don't know any of this, someone else will tell them, right? I think we got a question in the chat about, hey, have you got permission to kind of get all these things done? Yeah, so that's why we're working with the media providers. They get council approval to do all of the postings. So we're doing this campaign is going to give us hundreds of stencils in the cities, so hundreds of street stencils in the cities, and it's also going to give us, I think it's nearly 4,000 giant posters plastered all over cities. So that essentially is how we do city takeovers.
Yep. Yeah, and that's something else too. I mean, you know, we're not going to be putting stuff up on people's walls without their permission. If anything, being able to get it up on the wall, that means a conversation was had with the building owner, the sidewalk owner, or what have you, that, you know, they are aware of what Vertcoin is. We look at it as another opportunity to be able to talk to people about what Vertcoin is. You know, the incentive for them is, somebody wants to advertise on my building or on my sidewalk, you know, I'm going to make a little bit of money, you know, for letting this space be used for the advertising. But we also get a twofold. One, we get to see people's eyeballs are on the posters or the stencils, but that business owner or that building owner now is also aware of Vertcoin as well. So there's two returns on that investment. Exactly.
Awesome. So if we go to the next slide, you look at the proposed locations, and this is based on cryptocurrency, essentially penetration figures. So the ones we've kind of established at the moment is potential city as New York. We're looking at London as another one, possibly one between Sydney and Melbourne. So we're trying to like identify which one. I'm thinking Sydney's going to be the one that resonates more, although we've kind of got more leverage with mega sites in Melbourne, which we'll talk about later. In terms of the EU, we're looking at Amsterdam, Paris, and London, essentially. We looked at getting a supplier in Berlin, but that you know, no one's kind of jumped on that bandwagon just yet. But I'm still waiting to hear back on one person later today. So I'll update you guys when I hear from that.
Okay, awesome. So then phase 2 of the campaign, the payoff.
So phase 2 of the campaign is the payoff. So this is where people then begin to associate. All right, so RIP Banks was, you know, it started a lot of controversy. There was a lot of news around it. And then this kind of starts painting the picture around what the idea is behind RIP banks and where we're going with this idea. So if we go into the next slide, you'll kind of understand how we've taken it from RIP banks to be your own bank.
Yeah, you guys have seen this phrase. It's kind of been a phrase of ours for a while now. Be your own bank. And here we're establishing, look, banks, rip, but now we're giving why banks are ripped, why they are going away. It's because you can be your own bank. So you give the gloom and doom to the banks, but then you offer up the hope. And in this graphic you can see it with the sun rising. It's morning on your street. You can now be your own bank. You're in control of your own funds.
So just so you know, this is an actual mega site. So this is what it would look like if we did purchase the mega site.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a prime example of kind of what you would see going up and down these cities. And when we say city takeover, we mean, literally you're going to be able to go down any street and see stuff like this. So we're really thinking large and big when it comes to this marketing campaign. We're not doing anything too small. I mean, now granted, these are kind of your larger, but you'll have stuff like bus signs and stuff like that too. But yeah, this is a good representation of kind of what we're going for.
Yeah. If you look at, so what we're going to do next is look at street signage as well. Let's kind of quickly go through the next few slides so we can get a top level understanding of what that's going to look like and the places we're looking at putting these messages into, right? So I think you've kind of seen one of these before. The basic communication around Vertcoin is more along the lines of vision and our philosophy. We're bringing to the market the idea that there is a coin that is for everyone, that anyone can mine.
Yeah. The do you even mine, bro? I mean, that's going to hit all of your college kids directly. I mean, you could paste that up on a gym right there. That slogan ties right in with, something else that people understand. Hold on.
Yeah.
Wife is calling me. Let me mute that real quick. All right. So yeah, so those posters and stuff we'll see. The other graphic phase 2 here, you'll see be your own bank, rip banks, and it's got a picture of the lip box. And then this is something that we kind of just did with the Vertcoin Verde sauce with Pex Peppers, where hey, they accept Vertcoin. Make your business harder, and that drives people to the merchants who already accept Vertcoin. So we're spreading even more adoption to being able to spend your Vertcoin on with a company that already accepts it.
Exactly, and it's providing the idea that it's not difficult to accept a cryptocurrency, and while you do have to look at what the legal implications are, it's no different from any other currency if you kind of get your hands stuck into it.
Yeah. Yep. So everything, here on slide 18, earn digital currency. There is no spoon. A financial system is free from central entities run by its users. Rip banks. You can kind of see the overall look and feel that we're going for with these kind of street posters. I mean, it's visually appealing, but it stands out, and it's going to get people interested in it. So, on slide 19, 45 million reasons and counting, join the hundreds of merchants. These two, you can see it's a single image. It's kind of broken up into two different posters, but you can stack those side by side, and you're conveying a really awesome message to people who are seeing this.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And the thing is, the way we want to do this awareness campaign is, if you encounter one of these posters, you'll encounter another one eventually, as you kind of go about your day. And what this means is it gives you a more wholesome message around Vertcoin, and essentially we establish the idea of Vertcoin in people's minds.
Yeah. So moving on to slide 20, phase 2, the payoff placement street posters.
Exactly. So these are positions where we are looking at placing the street posters. We're looking at high traffic indoor sites like in malls, on poles. We're looking at cafes. So these are the placement suggestions that we got from our media suppliers, and these are the places that they own, and they will plaster out posters on. So essentially high traffic indoor areas, cafes, university fringes, so around places where people park their bikes, people kind of congregate. We've got alternative music stores, so anywhere where you've got people who like to be, follow a different like beat, if you may. They, the people who would resonate with most, really.
Yeah.
We're also looking at like laundromats, places where people really hang out, where they've got time to digest this information as well.
Yeah.
And finally, laneways and mega sites.
Yeah. So, I mean, this gives you a real idea. We're not just like, oh, hey, go take a poster, throw it up on a street corner. Like, no, we're really putting in a lot of effort to be able to maximize this campaign, to be able to send a message, to be able to garner attention, and then to be able to educate people on what Vertcoin is, why Vertcoin, why rip banks, why be your own bank is a good thing. And we've, Supddle's been spearheading this, and he's done an amazing job. But this is kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking to do with this campaign.
One of the things, so I got a chance to catch up with Plankton yesterday because we were we were hoping to attend a blockchain conference, which is going to be next week anyway. But we were a week early, but that's a story for another time. But what we were talking about was, we've got all these ICOs that have millions of dollars, and no one's really done a campaign like this. No one's done a city takeover, no one's done an international takeover that's gonna get that kind of awareness out there.
Well, when you're an ICO and you draw that much attention to you, now you got to start actually answering real questions, and you got to actually have a product, and then you got to actually have a roadmap, and then so that right there falls apart for 99.9% of all ICOs. That's why we haven't seen that. That's why we haven't seen, they have millions of dollars, but they're not going to use that millions of dollars to actually promote their product, their blockchain, their what they're working on, because the majority of them, they're not working on anything. It's just a white paper and a fancy website, and come here in order to get an ICO so you can possibly get a return on your investment. Here, we're actually thinking about how to push our product, how to get people interested, educated, and ready to use cryptocurrency in their everyday life. And we didn't have an ICO. We don't have millions of dollars just sitting around. But we're doing things the way that it's supposed to be done when you have a product you can stand behind.
Exactly. I think we got a question again in the little chat box. Steven's asking, so we've got this all planned out. When is it happening? I think we covered it just before. We're hoping to launch this in October, so the first week of October.
Yep.
And it depends really on how much we can kind of raise to get this done. In the next few slides, you'll kind of see, so in the current slide, what you're seeing is the basic outlay per city, how it works. In average, it averages out around 600 posters per city. And so what that means is, if we do, say, one city in Australia, 2 cities in Europe, which I would ideally like to see, and then at least 1 city in the United States, that would give us the best awareness. And then we can, so essentially it's quite a fair bit of posters, quite a fair bit of takeovers, and we can really get our message across.
Yeah.
So in this slide, you'll start to see how our awareness scales up as we do multiple cities. Yep. So if you look at, say, if we just do, say, New York, Sydney, and Amsterdam, which is like one city in the United States, one city in Australia, and one in the EU, that kind of like gives us an ideal amount of awareness. If we wanted to do 2 more cities, we can like scale up further.
Yeah, and you guys can see each city, we're looking at a budget of about $14,500. So this is a lot of times people are all in for marketing until they see the cost. And the thing is, marketing is not cheap, especially when you have marketing that has an ROI on it that actually benefit, has a benefit that comes back to it. We're doing a lot of work to narrow down to make sure that when we do this campaign that we get the best return on investment for these marketing dollars. Now, of course, if Vertcoin is, at all-time highs, we can do a lot more cities, and it won't take nearly as much Vertcoin. But we have to set a dollar value, because, like I was saying with the businesses, this is still, you can take the Vertcoin, but you're going to have to convert it into USD or Australian dollars or euros in order to pay for this. But here you can kind of see what we're looking at for a budget per city.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, if it ends up that we raise enough for 2 cities, we would just decide then, is it going to be New York? Is it going to be New York and Amsterdam? I would incline towards doing New York and Amsterdam as opposed to like New York and Sydney. But yeah, it just depends how much we raise. Hopefully, I would say we would get our best result if we would do 3 cities, only because that would mean we've got a presence in Europe, we've got a presence in the United States, and we've got a presence in Australia, and people are going to be wondering what the fuck is happening. And who's orchestrating this whole thing. Yeah,
and when you come from, what we talked about earlier as far as being able to get picked up by news, you got to think, news, that's free advertising. So here we are paying for spots, but if you have somebody on CNBC talking about who put down all of these rip bank things all over the sidewalks in New York City in, in the financial district, who did this? Now that gets picked up by other news places. Now it starts to snowball, and you start to get even more free advertising simply because of your provoking during phase 1. So while we may set a budget for doing 2 cities, if we're able to hit it just right, that may spill over into worldwide news coverage that's all free advertising.
Exactly right. Yep.
So why awareness?
Exactly. So I think it's, it should be pretty obvious by now, but the market really doesn't know Vertcoin as, as best as it can. And it's flooded with other coins that have, they've shifted the conversation. They've shifted the conversation into some things like instant transactions, instant zero fees and stuff like that. Things that are, we know from a developer's point of view, like that's illogical in some ways, and in most cases not practical. But at the same time, like, how do you expect us to have a conversation when there's so much noise? And this is one of the things that it's mitigating. It's mitigating that noise. It's giving us that platform to kind of vocalize and get our message across. Once we do get that media attention, what that means is as a coin, we will be able to communicate our vision. We'll be able to communicate our vision a lot stronger and establish a stronger market presence.
Yeah, I mean, if you look now, the majority of people who get free advertising from the media are all people who are in the top 5 or top 6 of the coin market cap, and the coin market cap is what drives people's awareness of a particular cryptocurrency, regardless if it has an actual working product or not. And the people who are doing the news coverage, they have no clue what they're talking about, so they're not asking about the product. All they're asking about is, what's the price going to do? Which at the end of the day, if your product, that doesn't matter if you don't actually have a real product, because then it's just vaporware,
Exactly. I think one of the other things that we're trying to establish right now is we want to establish that the Vertcoin community still believes in this project, and this project is driven by the community. There was no ICO. There was, we didn't do any pre-mine. The community is the lifeblood of Vertcoin.
Yeah.
And if we can take over 3 international cities and get our message across, it's going to it's putting a message out to the world that, cryptocurrency is alive in the minds and in the hearts of community. And that is the strongest thing that we can really have in any project. Like, whether it's a cryptocurrency project or it's an idea, it's an idea that people believe in. It's the community's respect and community's essentially passion.
Yeah, definitely. So raising funds for the awareness campaign.
Exactly. So if we want to raise funds for this, the awareness campaign, and if we want to do 3 cities, or 4, if we want to do 4 cities, we need to raise 50,000 VTC. And I worked it out last night just on like a tissue paper, kind of like almost like a how much do we really charge for each poster. It works out to be like 11 Vert coins per poster if we're getting like 4,000 posters in general, and then a little bit more for the mega sites and stencils. So really, when you look at it per poster, we really are not paying that much.
Yeah, and obviously 50,000 VTC, that's a lot for people to 50,000 anything is normally not, unless you're like something like Ripple, where 50,000 Ripple is nothing. But the ambition is here. You can obviously see we're looking at doing 4 cities internationally. Huge marketing opportunities here in order to be able to get the Vertcoin name, project, and get all that out into the public eye, to get more eyes on this project and to tampen down the noise surrounding cryptocurrency. And this is kind of what we're looking for. Now, that's the goal. We may not get to 50,000, but I mean, if everybody in the community gave 10 Vertcoin, 100 Vertcoin, whatever you could spare, every step, every donation towards this increases the amount that we can do. I look at this very much kind of like, I talked about it and I put it in the development update. Super Troopers is one of my favorite movies of all time. When they wanted to do the second movie, they did an Indiegogo campaign. That movie, the development of it was completely raised from fans, donating to get the movie made. You really like Vertcoin, you really like the project, you like what it stands for, you like the openness, the transparency, the accountability of it. Us being able to raise these funds for marketing, because we don't have a stockpile just sitting to the side, us being able to raise funds for this marketing campaign, we've given you kind of what our vision is, the details, the number of posters we're looking at, the cities we're looking at. We put a lot of effort in to make sure that we give you exactly everything that we're looking to do with this, and this is kind of the end result of this is what we would need to raise in order to do 4 cities. Now, if we only raise 15,000 Vertcoin, then we can do 1, maybe half of the posters in New York, half the posters in Amsterdam. Obviously, whatever we raise will determine what we're going to be capable of doing. But we're going to, this is kind of the goal. And now, Supddle, have you thought about any sort of like, phase 1? If we raise 10,000 Vertcoin, then we can go through phase 1. If we raise 20,000 Vertcoin, then we enter phase 2, and kind of what that would look like, or we just setting our eye on 50,000, and then whatever we get is whatever we get, and we'll work with what we got.
So we ideally want to aim for 50,000 because like phase 1 leverages off. Phase 2 leverages off phase 1, right? You need that payoff to phase 1. So if we're scaling everything down, we're kind of scaling down impact as well, which is the whole, like, one of the reasons we want to take over the media as much as we can. We want to take over the communication, the conversation as much as we can. So my professional suggestion would be to aim as high as we can and raise as much funds as we can, because scaling it back is only going to reduce impact. Of course we can scale it back, but it's probably not going to have the desired effect that we wanted to have, like getting added media coverage, added knock-on effects from orchestrating a campaign.
Yeah, we can buy these posters, we can buy the media space in these cities and such, but the end goal is to get everybody else talking, to get social media buzzing, to get trending on Facebook, trending on Twitter, people talking about, oh, I can mine while my, computer is idle, or, rip banks or anything. I want to see the Vertcoin logo on, national television. I want to see it on CNBC. I want to see it on my local news about there was a Rip Banks stencil downtown, who did this, we don't know why. I want to see that sort of coverage that we don't have to pay for, but it's going to keep spreading and it just snowballs. It's just like pushing a snowball downhill. It's going to gain momentum, it's going to get bigger, and that's the end goal.
Exactly. And this is coming at an extremely timely time because Deutsche Bank is in a lot of strife. All the four banks in Australia, the big four, they are in not in a good way. They're taking a lot of heat under a royal commission. And this is one of the best times in Australia's history where we can do a campaign like this, and it's going to have massive traction.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of focus right now on the financial systems, especially even in Europe, because you had Brexit that is currently being initiated. So now you're starting to see the EU not being able to depend on the British pound as much in order to facilitate its financial systems, where it's using some of the stronger countries in order to prop up some of the weaker countries and things of that nature. So financial news and information and the fact that there may be an alternative out there, people are searching and are hungry for that. I know here in the United States, my family is in construction, and right now the cost and the construction is booming in the United States, but eventually I'm worrying if that's going to kind of initiate another 2008, where we saw the housing market kind of collapse and people had to get into some pretty hard financial situations. 2008 is what brought on cryptocurrency. It's what brought on Satoshi's original white paper. Could we be setting ourselves up for something else that would even launch what we currently have in the crypto space further by having these booms and not necessarily a bubble popping, but the ebbs and flows of the financial system? And you talking about the banks and stuff in Australia, banks, they're not as bad as they were within 2008, but most banks, the cash flow, that's all it's about. They don't have tons of money just sitting around. You have a few hiccups here and there, and things start to get real shaky real quick.
Yeah. Hey, so I think we're ready to wrap it up, but I'm happy to take questions around the marketing campaign. Anything that people want to ask, I'm happy to take questions now.
Yeah, so I did see a few questions in here. Let's see. So we did have one about the one-click miner. Definitely, if you have any technical questions as far as an application like the one-click miner, the best place to go is in the miners and one-click channel inside of our Discord. We'll be able to help you. The mining while idle, I've never used it. I always actively just set my miner going whenever I leave my computer, and then when I come back down, I turn it off. But yeah, that would be a great place to go for that. Let's see. But surely there's a community that perhaps reviews lower market cap coins. I know a podcast called Crypto 101 that does this, but surely there are traders that look for the little guy coins. I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about there, Stephen, as far as what he's talking about as far as reviewing other coins and such. But if you can consolidate that and repost the question, then we could take an answer to that. Anybody got any questions regarding the market campaign? Any questions for Supddle? I mean, this has kind of been his brainchild, and shoot them here, let us know. While we're waiting for questions to come in, I did want to touch on VertBase. I hope you guys hadn't forgotten about VertBase. We do have VertPig, which VertBase and VertPig are not affiliated with the team behind Vertcoin. They are community members that took their own initiative to build their own exchanges. But VertPig is in the UK, and they trade. They have a pairing directly with the euro. VertBase is in the United States, where you would be able to buy and sell Vertcoin with the US dollar. They are very close to launch, so we're very close to getting that up and running. But they need some feedback from you guys, because right now one of the things that they're dealing with is their bank transfers and payment processor. They want to hold all of their transfers, and when buying Vertcoin, what's the max number of days that you're willing to wait for a bank transfer to settle? With Coinbase, I think it's like 3 to 5 days or something like that. And I know when I first got into crypto, that killed me. I thought, oh God, I'm trying to buy Bitcoin, or I'm trying to buy this at this set price. Now I gotta wait. So he's trying to gather some information, some community feedback. Right now we got 201 votes. I want to see this get much higher. We got 21 hours left, so you don't have much time to respond to this. But here, I'm gonna put this in the chat here so you guys can see that. Go ahead and go over there and vote. You know, if you don't mind waiting an extra 4 or 5 days in order to have your transfer happen, then vote on there. But he's going to take this information back to the payment processor and show them that, look, the community really wants these fast transactions so that they can buy Vertcoin right away, and then he'll be able to use that. So I just wanted to throw that in there real quick. Let's see if we got any other questions here. See, Vertcoin on the news, should have got on Binance. Binance, we've covered that plenty of times. The fund that we raised, the Vertcoin exchange listing fund, was not specifically for Binance. It was for exchange listings, and if you look at that fund, we have not spent any of the money yet. Currently, we are in talks with all kinds of different exchanges, but we are looking for a good return on our investment. Unfortunately, we have ICOs out there that have millions and millions of dollars that they can pump these prices up for these exchanges to get listed. So we're not going to spend all of that fund on an exchange that really isn't going to bring volume and really isn't going to benefit the community in a whole. So keep watching for that. You can look at the fund. We haven't spent any of the dollars. We haven't moved it. That is for exchange listings. But the Binance thing, you know, that is, we've talked about that plenty of times. Currently, I don't know if we're in talks with them right now, but I know there is an open line of communication between Binance and us. If they come back with something reasonable, then we may go down that road. Any exchange comes to us with something reasonable, then we will go down that road. And if they can perform, you know, the right amount of volume and it actually is worth it to get listed on there, then we'll do that. All of our listings that you've seen us list so far this year, they haven't cost us anything. So keep that in mind. Let's see here. What do we got? I was just saying that it would help if Vertcoin developers were to get in contact and give interviews. Yeah, I think, Steven, I think I try and push our developers to get out and talk with interviews and people. If you have somebody like the Crypto 101 podcast, don't wait on one of us in the marketing team or one of the developers to reach out to them. Take the initiative. You can go out there and try and set up a contact right away, and we can try and get somebody on there. I know with the last 4 or 5 months, it has really just gone downhill as far as people just even being active, talking about cryptocurrency. It's amazing how many people were in this space talking about it as if they were experts, and they were hammering stuff out every single day, and then all of a sudden stuff started to turn downhill, and then they just disappeared. So so we're always open to interviews. We're always open. We don't, you know, we're not looking for softball questions. We're more than happy to go on a hard-hitting interview. Put them in contact with us. You can have the Crypto 101 podcast or anybody else that you want to see us on. Have them shoot me a message here on Discord, or anybody here on Discord, or a DM through Twitter, and then we'll get right in touch with them and get something set up. So let's see.
Yeah, I think it's important to even understand that the way content producers their revenue model is, it's based on views. It's based on how popular videos are, how much it's shared, etc., right?
Yep.
The only way they would actually look at interviewing, say, a developer at Vertcoin or a developer at, I don't know, Ripple or wherever, right, is if they feel like they are going to get the most views off of that content, right? That's the driver in that way.
Exactly.
One of the things that you would need to consider is who's kind of like putting that forward as a proposal to that producer. You know, is it coming from the community? Are they getting 100 emails saying, "Hey, feature the developers of Vertcoin"? You know, which then becomes a responsibility of the marketing team to drive that community. And it's something that we want to do. We want to get the community to say, okay, so if we want to get them on, say, JSnip's channel, I'm unfamiliar with the channel, but if we want to get them on that, we need to kind of get the community to write into them or post in the comments, hey, do a talk on Vertcoin, do a talk on, get James or get James and Gert on Vertcoin, on your show.
Yeah.
Right? One of the other things, and this is looking at it from the other way, and this will also kind of address, I think it's Steve's question, so Stephen Caldwell's question, is sometimes if a producer sees that a coin is getting popular because media is centered around it, they will approach the developers themselves and they will say, let's do a talk, right?
Yeah.
And this could be a knock-on effect from the awareness campaign, right? So that's another way of looking at it. When we have currency in news media and when we're newsworthy, that's when you'll see a lot of people doing a lot more interviews and producing more content around the coin as well.
Yeah, I think right now a lot of people, when we drop Litbox, people are going to come out the woodwork as far as wanting to be able to see that, because it's game changing in how Lightning is working. You're solving a problem that L&D on the Bitcoin Lightning beta, they don't have a solution for that right now. They're not necessarily thinking about that. We're thinking about point of sale and being able to make this work for merchants. They're thinking about how to just get it up and running for a single coin. So yeah, the campaign that we're looking to do will increase more interviews, increase more viewership, and more interest in the project as a whole. We have one question here. If we don't hit the desired amount of the fund, this is for the marketing campaign, will we wait or will we go with what we got?
We'll go with what we got. I don't think there's any reason to wait. I would suggest, aiming as high as we can. I think I've said this before. Only because, I really want this to be a success for the project, I feel like the team, the community is extremely passionate about it. We're seeing it in the questions coming through. People go out of their ways to, mail the producers and get the message out there. We see a lot of people retweeting. There is a dedicated community. It would be a shame not to get this awareness campaign off the ground. So by all means, share the idea that we need to donate to this campaign in order to bring this to light, because I feel like this is an important milestone for us to achieve from a communications point of view, and moving forward from that, it's going to open a lot of possibilities.
Exactly. So what would the marketing team say to someone who doesn't want the responsibility and liability of being their own bank? So I know that's kind of one of our hitting messages, of being your own bank. And there are people out there who, they don't want to take responsibility for anything in their life. They don't want to be responsible for their own fund. And for us, it's, I don't know. I mean, Supddle, what do you think about as far if somebody just doesn't want to be responsible for their own funds and don't want to be their own bank?
I guess for them to come to that conclusion, they have to question the idea of, what the hell do banks do besides take fees, right? And they have to kind of understand, they will have to question their own, the fundamental ideas of how banks work in order to come to that conclusion, right? And, if at the end of that they realize, what, I'm happy with my bank, which, in large, the large majority, the markets place banks in between tobacco and cigarettes. That's how much the market likes banks. They don't, right? And so essentially, if we can tap into that human truth, that is what we're going for. And you'll find that people, although they don't want to have that responsibility of being their own bank, people will identify with the idea that, generally banks spend a lot of money trying to influence people's perception of them and try to make themselves look good, but we all know they're dirty.
Unless you really run a business, most people have no idea that the merchant that you go and use your credit card with is charged 3% of the transaction that you're doing. And so it costs the merchant money to even allow you to use that credit card in their store, where that's 3% of the total price. If they were to accept Vertcoin for that same transaction, you're talking pennies, absolute pennies on huge dollar values as far as monetary transactions go. That right there, that is the appealing part for merchants. And the merchant has to be responsible with the funds that they take in and stuff like that. They kind of have to be their own bank until they get those funds to a bank. But when it comes to being your own bank, the major responsibility with that is, and this is part of the security aspect and making sure that the software that we're putting out is quality software is we don't want it so that somebody has to have a computer science degree in order to be their own bank, because then it's not user friendly, it's not secure, and you have to know computer science level technical skills in order to make it secure, make it user friendly for yourself. That's part of our goal. That's part of our job, is to make it so that somebody, they don't know, all they know how to do is swipe a card or scan a QR code in order to pay with their credit card. For the average user who may not be comfortable with the idea of being their own bank or may not accept that responsibility, then they, it's hard, because there's going to be people out there who refuse to accept responsibility, who refuse to, they would much rather deal with what we have now because it's comfortable and they don't have to put forth any effort. Those people exist. Those people will be out there. I don't know necessarily if crypto in general is even aiming for those people. We're aiming for the people who are fine taking personal responsibility, and enjoy the idea that they have control over their own currency. They have control over their own funds. Right now, outside of a government warranty, if my bank closes tomorrow and it's insured with the government, the government's the only thing that says, yeah, we're going to give you your funds if you only have $250,000 or less. So the majority of people out there that are in banks, they don't have that amount of money, so they never have to think about it. But if you're over that threshold of that warranty or that insurance with the bank, your bank goes out, you're out of money. So if I have $1 million in the bank and the bank dies tomorrow, I'm out that $1 million except for the $250,000 I'm insured in. Now, you can do some finagling to where you have 6 bank accounts and you split the $1 million up, $250,000 or $100,000 into 10 different bank accounts, and you can do that in order to cover under the insurance. But I don't know. I would have to ask the person who is not comfortable with being their own bank, who doesn't want to take on that responsibility, of how do they go and then drive a vehicle that day where they're operating a 2,000-3,000 pound vehicle that if they swerve the wrong direction while next to a sidewalk, they can kill people. They're accepting a whole lot more responsibility while going out and driving that vehicle than just being their own bank. I think it's definitely, from a marketing aspect, there's some work there to be able to convince people to take on that responsibility. But when you compare it to the responsibility that they take on in their everyday life without even knowing about it, it may not be as hard as it sounds.
Yeah, and I think in time that responsibility is going to it's going to become more normalized. But at the moment, I don't think it would be effective to start convincing people to take on the responsibility of being their own bank at the moment, because cryptocurrency is getting is as prolific as it is. We know that there is a market of people who want to be their own bank. Mm-hmm. One of the things we want to also mitigate is turning cryptocurrency into an investment, which is what it's being treated as right now. Yeah. And what we want to do is we want to kind of show that it's more that it's not an investment. It's a currency, right?
Correct.
And that's where the whole idea is from, be your own bank, control your own money, be in control of your own money, mine it, you spend it, you trade it, do whatever you want with it, but you are in control, right?
Yeah.
I think we've got another question here from I can't say the name, but it's I think they're saying, wouldn't the media attention be bad attention? Saying that the project isn't viable. Now, I think there's a way of thinking about this in the fact that the media attention that we would get from this is, first of all, who is Vertcoin? Who are they? What are they doing? And then what they will uncover is they will uncover that since the start, since 2014, we have stuck to our principles. We have committed to the community to be ASIC resistant. We've forked, we're developing a new hash, a new algorithm. We are working on the future of money. We are quite possibly the only project that is staying true to the vision of cryptocurrency. And that is what they will uncover. And if they uncover that, then that is a gold mine.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, you know, while these are all really valid questions that we need to answer and things that we have to take into consideration, you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, when I'm trying to think of when people are trying, like cell phones, for example. I'm sure when Apple first came out with the iPhone, which I hate even saying Apple's name, given how they've treated us with the iOS wallet, when they came out with the iPhone, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were like, nobody's going to want the responsibility of carrying around this brick that is glass on the front of it. It's going to shatter everywhere. You know, people are used to being able to have a phone that they can drop and it's not going to cause any problems. You know, we're putting a computer in a small form factor thing. This is going to be catastrophic. People are going to want to take on the responsibility of having this fragile of a device in their hand. And while adoption initially was a little slow, look where it is today. Everyone has. I mean, I have a cell phone that has an 8-inch screen on it that if I drop this, I have a $70 OtterBox around it to make sure I don't, you know, kill the screen. You know, if I drop it, it's going to cost me $400 or $500 to get the screen replaced in it. You know, that's a lot of responsibility to walk out every day with a cell phone in my pocket that, you know, when this stuff initially came on, that was probably a big concern of, you know, how are we going to get people to adopt this level of fragility or technical stuff needed in order to use a cell phone when everybody from that point, you know, that point forward had just been using something that was pretty rugged and you just push buttons in order to make a phone call.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
But yeah, so let's see. See if we got any other questions here.
No, thanks, Wayne. I think some really good comments there.
Yeah.
So really appreciate it.
Yeah, Wayne, thank you very much. So I think that's about it for this episode of Vertcoin Talk. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have plenty of off-the-chain moments out of this one. But check out the next off-the-chain that's going to be happening this Sunday. Check out on our YouTube. We're also going to be posting them on our other social sites and such. But I want to thank Supddle for being on today's Vertcoin Talk, for giving that presentation. If you guys see him inside of the Discord, say hey in the open marketing channel. If you have any ideas about this campaign, make sure to stop in and give us some feedback. Like I said, I know we are looking to do a very ambitious campaign. Our goal is to raise 50,000 Vertcoin. If you have a few spare Vertcoin that you can spare, please send that over to us. We will be getting out the Vertcoin address in order to be able to set up this fund, but we just wanted to introduce this to you guys here and to kind of give you a brief on what we're looking to do with this marketing campaign. So look for another Vertcoin Talk coming from us here in a few weeks, hopefully. Yeah, I think that's about it. Anybody have anything else for tonight? Let's see. Great video. Awesome. So Supddle, thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys in the next Vertcoin Talk.
Awesome. Cheers.